it's Sandra. Welcome back to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. There's a place to be for education about asexuality, so hit that bell icon and hit the subscribe button right now. So if you didn't know who I am Sandra Bellamy. I'm author of this Asexual Perspectives book out on Amazon. And today I want to talk to you about my experience of going to a Bollywood night last night into the early hours of this morning from an asexual point of view versus a sexual point of view. So I'm hetero-asexual. So I'm heteroromantic asexual. I'm attracted to guys romantically and in lots of other ways, but I do not want to have sex with them. And personally, a sex repulsed asexual for me. And so you might be thinking, what has this got to do with you? But if you're asexual, there's very different kind of feelings and intention and mindset between someone who's asexual and doesn't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever, like me, and someone who's heterosexual. So when you are, for example, like I was last night at Bollywood night, which was my first I've been to, there's going to be different mindsets between you if you're asexual and a sexual person. And people will behave differently according to their sexual orientation. Hello, Thiola. Oh, thank you for watching. Thanks for the thumbs up. Lots of love to you. And so I wanted to give you a whole lowdown on what happened last night into the hours this morning. And I thought it'd be really beneficial for you to hear the difference between what sexuals do and how they behave and think compared to asexuals. I also want to tell you what the experience was like as a British girl, someone who isn't, Indian. So when I went there was only, from what I could see, me as an English person, British person, white, and there was only one other guy who was British and white, and there was a Chinese girl. Now, I love coloured skin. I absolutely adore it. So I'm just telling you that for background information. And the reason I'm telling you this is because obviously I stood out as like the person amongst the crowd. And when I first went there, I started dancing straight away after I'd been signed in. So you had to get signed in. I didn't have a problem signing in. I didn't get ID'd, but they probably thought I was a little bit older than 18. So I had my ID on me because I had to. And so I went upstairs. The security guard actually took me upstairs personally. So I thought that was really nice of him. I already felt good about that. And then the girl who signed me in, like, scanned the barcode, and there was two guys there from the organization, and she was the one who spoke to on Instagram, but I didn't know it was her because they just went by Indian, basically University of Exeter Indian Society. So I didn't even know who I was talking to. And I said, and then she looked at me. I said, "Oh, you the person I spoke to on Instagram?" She was really, really nice person. So that went well. They clearly wanted me to be comfortable. So when I first got there, I did dancing, and I went and danced at the front of, just before the DJ, basically. And I did give a thumbs up to the DJ, and I was dancing, but there wasn't many people on the dance floor. And there was a couple of girls, and one of them immediately said, "Oh, I like your dance moves," which is good. I was really happy about that. But the problem is I end up dancing my own for a bit, and I'm thinking, this is not good. It's a Bollywood party. I'm like a British girl doing the only dancing, and this is not good because I thought they would feel, because I put myself in their shoes, that this is a white British girl kind of taking over the dance floor, a Bollywood event. That's how I saw it from their eyes. So I decided, my throat's a bit sore because it was people were vaping in there last night. Lots of vaping. I didn't know you could do that at night, guys, but apparently you can. So, so to cut a long story short, I decided in my mind that from their point of view, it might not have looked very good. So I decided that I would go to the toilet. This was my plan because I usually need the toilet lots anyway. So I thought, go to the toilet, Sandra, give them time, the Indians, time to come on the dance floor, fill the dance floor up. Then you go back, then you blend in with them, because it's not fair on them if it's a Bollywood night, because it's their night, it's not my night. and that's meant to be for them. They should be the stars of the stage, if you like. They should be the stars of the dance floor, not you, even though you're good at dancing. I thought they might be a bit intimidated by a British white girl there, if you know what I mean. And so that's how I just felt they might feel. So I purposely decided to do that. And it worked really, really well. I felt like I was exactly right, possibly, in my thinking. I felt like, well, if I had been right, I'd have been right, if you know what I mean, because it worked like a charm in the sense that I went to the toilet for quite some time, and then because I like to freshen up anyway, so I'm like literally covered in sweat already, and so I'm like cleaning myself up basically. And so I do go off, like I went off 4 times, like to dry myself a bit, and I do take spare underwear because it just gets so wet from sweat. I know that's very personal, but I don't mind sharing that because it's like, well, to me, it's just underwear. And I'm just changing it because it's like wet, full of sweat. Because I sweat a lot on the dance floor because I do quite energetic dancing. Excuse me. So yeah, so anyway, I decided to do that, and then that worked really well. The dance floor was quite full by the time I got back. I probably was gone like 10, 15 minutes, maybe more. I don't know. Might have been quite a long time. But I purposely did that and it was good because then I felt like accepted. I was at the back though. My head nearly kept hitting the speaker, which wasn't good. But I felt this is their time. This is their club. This is their show, if you like. I would rather be at the back, more tucked out the way, and let them have the limelight than me kind of spoil it for them. I'm not sure if that's how they did think, but I think they probably did think something like that. And so, I mean, obviously, a lot of the people on the dance floor after I've been to the toilet didn't even know about me because they weren't on the floor then, and there was late arrivals. And obviously, when there's not many people there anyway, you're going to get less people dancing because they're literally more worried about what people think, whereas I don't care what people think of me. And so, you know, I just felt from their point of view it was the best thing and it worked really, really well. And then so I was dancing at the back and I had my bag on me anyway. So I was like putting it in a corner and I had to keep my eye on it the whole night, which was very difficult because I didn't want it actually on me because I can't dance freely. So I had to be like viewing it nearly all the time. And that was really difficult because it does spoil a little bit of the enjoyment in the sense that you've got to keep your eye on your back. You can't go all the way around the dance floor just blending in every which way because you would just lose sight of your back. And if it's got personal belongings in there, you don't want that to happen. Where when I'm at timepiece, I have certain places I put my bag that I'm always dancing near, and it's always usually within our arm's reach. And so, I can literally grab it quickly if anyone comes near it. It's usually right in front of me, and I do that on purpose. But obviously, when you're on a big floor like that, you can't do it. So I'm going clubbing as well with my friend this Saturday. I've never been clubbing twice. So basically, the whole night was like a club, but Bollywood style. So it's very interesting. By the end of it, I thought a lot. I'm going to tell you about the whole night, including my experiences with heterosexual guys. But by the end of the night, I was thinking this is like a normal club, but just with Bollywood dancing and music. So anyway, after I come back from the toilet, it was really nice because there was a girl and a guy, and the girl asked me if I was on my own, and I said, yeah, I got friends at the University of Exeter, which is true. But I said I've come on my own tonight, and she's like, "Oh, you." And then she spoke to the guy, which I presume is her boyfriend, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, you can dance with us," which was really, really nice. So I felt included. She didn't have to do that because obviously girl and boyfriends like, to dance on their own sometimes. But I do find that's one beneficial thing about the Indian communities. They're very friendly and very welcoming, and they have got a very good community spirit. So I know that sometimes I say the culture is very different to mine, which it is. There are some things I really do like about the culture, and I do like the fact that it's kind of all one big family a lot of the time, I feel. And that, they are inclusive and quite friendly as well, especially to a British white girl, if you know what I mean. And so I just thought I was really nice of them. So I was dancing with them quite a lot. But even she said, be careful your head on the speaker because I was that shoved in the corner. But it was really, really nice. And then later on, I did get to dance with some other people more because there was one guy who came on the floor and he just did a little bit of like non-close dancing with me because I was kind of busting some moves. So he liked my moves. Then he went off. That was it. And then later on, this couple, by the way, I was dancing off and on with quite a lot throughout the night. The majority of it on, but towards the end of the night, less. Towards the end of the night, there was something that happened, which I will tell you about. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, so anyway, I had this other guy dancing because he liked my moves and he's like, "Oh, go you, go you." So that was really nice. He said to me his name was Raj because he asked me my name, but there is a but because obviously I'm asexual, I'm sex repulsed, right? And I have kind of like places that I don't like to be touched and places that I don't mind being touched. And so he was starting to put his arm around me, this Raj guy, and he was like putting it near my waist, which I'm very like, okay, like, are you gonna go try and go any further? And so he was doing it a couple of times, but I didn't feel so comfortable because it didn't feel very natural to me. It kind of, well, natural in the sense it was natural for him because it was natural for him to see a beautiful, gorgeous girl and want to touch her, like want to put his hand around her waist, want to touch her body, basically. He didn't actually touch me in a bad way, so he didn't touch me in any places I don't want to be touched, but I got the impression he would have done if I'd have carried on being close to him, and so I was uncomfortable in that respect because he was the type of guy that I knew if I'd have carried on dancing really next to him and letting him to touch me more with his hand around my waist or whatever, or on my arm, it would just have led to much more because his body was coming closer to mine. So I'm very aware of heterosexual body language, and his body was coming closer to mine. And I just didn't feel comfortable for that. It was like too close with him. I just thought he's a highly sexual guy. And I got that vibe from him. And I just thought if you carry on getting too close, although he's really friendly, he's a nice guy, he's got a nice smile, and he's liking your dance moves. And I felt comfortable around him from that point of view. I also thought in terms of touching, he would just be too sexual for me. And therefore it caused me some uncomfortability in my mind. I was still okay to be physically close to him, but I was kind of like on my guard a bit with him. So he was, I would say, for me, he was a heterosexual who I felt comfortable enough to be around, maybe a little bit close to physically, but I needed to keep my distance, as in not get too close to him because he would have gone far more than I wanted to. That's the impression I got. So it's kind of, I'm comfortable around you to a certain point. You're really nice to dance with to a certain point. We get on well. I thought he's kind of a person I could get on well with. But I just thought, the closer I get, the more you're gonna put your hands all over me, and therefore I was kind of like holding back a little bit. Like I was being very careful not to get too near him, to always keep myself at a little angle. Like this is not what I say. People don't know I'm doing this. I can just feel my body and I'm trying to assess my mind what was happening at the time. And if I assess it, I can tell that I was keeping more of a triangular shape. I don't know how to explain it. So he was side, I was like on his side, but I was kind of keeping an angle just so that I wouldn't be so not all the time. We did dance side by side, I remember once. And that's when I think he put his arm around my arm and like going down the waist bit. And I didn't mind in the sense that he was an Indian guy, but I didn't want it to go any further with him. I just didn't feel totally comfortable. So it was weird with him. It's like half comfortability or three-quarters comfortability, but the last quarter of the touching, I would have that was as far as I wanted it to go, and I just knew it was gonna go further, and I'm like, "I just can't be having any more than this." So I was kind of like, in those moments where I thought you might go a bit further, I was just kind of edging off a bit, like, going a bit more of a triangular, like, a angle shape, and so that was a very interesting experience. I find it's very interesting to analyze myself in these situations as an asexual person versus a heterosexual person because it's very, very like it's very, very interesting to my mind how I feel as an asexual person in a place full of heterosexual guys. Of course, I love it because obviously they're Indian guys, but it's kind of like really normal for me to be around those type of guys. I think it's because on Facebook, I'm so used to having so many Indian guys now who follow me on there, my personal Facebook, that I just get like kind of um it's not a big deal for me anymore, if you know what I mean. It's not I thought I'd walk in there thinking, "Wow, I feel like this is home." And it's surreal, and it was surreal in a certain sense, but it felt more like normal. So I thought I'd feel like I've come home, but then it just felt normal. But I'm thinking, well, maybe it does feel like home because it's normal. It was weird. And so my expectations were a little bit strange. He met. It's weird. Anyway, so that was the first Indian guy that danced close to me and decided to do some touching. Has him put his arm around here. I'm gonna have some water. You can tell my throat's a bit like And so then came the later came the second Indian guy that was into touching me. So he was into like putting his arm around me, this one, right? But he went a bit too far, nearly. So what happened was is I was looking at him, he was looking at me. Then he did come over specifically to dance with me, which I like that because I like a guy, Indian guy, strong, who doesn't care what people think and just will come up if they see a nice, beautiful girl like me, right? And so he was dancing with a group of people, and he specifically turned around because he saw me and I saw him, and he did have a really nice smile. He had longer hair for an Indian guy, like nearly chin length hair, and it was kind of down like that. So it's kind of swept back and around like this, around his chin. So he had like longer hair for an Indian guy. I think it was like clean shaven or almost totally clean shaven. And so his face was really nice and quite beautiful, but he wasn't my usual type. And he came over to dance with me, but then he asked me if I want to vape, if I like wanted his vape to vape with. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, I could never be with you close because you vape and I can't be with a smoker. So that was an instant barrier for me. I guess, if I had a smoked, it'd have been a nice gesture, but like sharing, like a vape, I guess that would have been maybe quite romantic to a smoker. Because I guess you'd have to, like, I don't know, use the same thing that they've used. I don't know because I don't know how it works because I don't like smoking. I hate it and like it's no good for me. And so anyway, I'm like, no, I don't vape. So I thought, if you try to kiss me, I'm not going to be able to kiss you because you vape. So that was an instant barrier, and that was difficult because I kept thinking, how am I going to tell this guy that, if he does try and kiss me? But as the time went on, like my hair got caught in his, so that was quite interesting. And he's like, oh, because it looked like he was wearing my hair. That's quite funny, actually. He took it in good faith. It's pretty funny. I think he thought, oh, I'm really close to you right now because I'm wearing your hair. Because my hair's so long, it literally got caught in his. It's really funny. So that was a funny moment. I liked that. I thought it was really funny. And it could have been embarrassing for the wrong person, but I'm just like, this is just kind of like funny. And so he was dancing with me specifically a lot on purpose. And he did this move with me, right? So I want you to pay attention to this because if you do go dancing amongst heterosexuals, this is a kind of like trick they use to touch you more. And it seems really nice, the first part of it, but the second bit is like, oh shit, oot. So basically, the guy twirled me round, which I liked, I was fine about. And then when they turn you around, they end up with your back to them. So you've got your butt basically up close to their body and their genitalia, but also like sometimes they like if they're a bad guy or if they're a really sexual guy, they'll press on that. If they're not if they're more sensible, then they just will hold you close and it won't be too sexual. But the thing that they do is as you turn around, they twist you around and then they put you so you're to the back. They've got their arms over here, over your front, like this, right? And this guy, he moved his hands to try to touch my breast, and I'm just like straight away, no. So he didn't get to do it, but he was almost full on them. Fiola, oh no, exactly. And it's like, that was really uncomfortable for me. That was a really big no-no. And after that, I felt uncomfortable around him for the rest of the time. And it was really difficult because I'm thinking, if you try that again, you're just going to try and go further, I think. And I didn't like that at all. I thought it was really bad. I don't think, like, he was a nice person, sensitive, smiled nice, everything. Fiola, it must be uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable, that, because he brought his hands back So a good guy would bring his hands back and just go by your sides, but a guy who's interested in touching your breasts will go literally like this and touch them. And it is something that heterosexuals do as a trick, I think. I'm gonna call it a trick to get to touch your breasts. And so I was like taken aback. I'm like, no, and I just felt uncomfortable. And we did dance together a bit more, but I was just feeling so uncomfortable, thinking you're just gonna try and do something worse, like touch them full on next time. And I just didn't feel comfortable around that. And I kind of like was going away from him a bit dancing. And then luckily this Indian woman came, was paying him more attention. So he was trying to dance with her. Then he was going back to try and dance with me. But I lose all interest when a guy goes and dances with another woman anyway. And I didn't really care or mind because I thought, well, I'm not interested in you. I like enough to want you to touch me. And so that was fine. And then I did tell him he was still dancing with me as well as sometimes with her. He's still turning and dancing with me a lot. So he still liked me, but I said I've got to go to the toilet. I spent ages in there. And I thought it'll give me a chance to cool down, because I need to kind of re-energize myself, so I needed to calm down anyway. I think I had a health bar then because I get low blood sugar, and I'd been there since before 10, and it went on till 2, and I think this was nearly, I think this was, oh yeah, this was 1:15, I think. I think it was, and or was it earlier than that? Anyway, I had this health bar, but I was just stood like in a corner after the toilet eating this health bar. No one seemed to care. I'm like, okay, it's a bit random, but there you go. I'm surprised no one kind of like said anything, but there you go. But first of all, when I first went there at night, I thought no guys were really interested in me, which was weird for Indian guys because I didn't really get anyone dancing with me. And then I kind of had the first guy, Raj, and then I had this second guy. I thought clearly guys are interested in you, Sandra, but this isn't the right guy. This is the wrong guy. But I thought he was nice as look and personality, but just when he was trying to touch my breasts, I just really put me off. And then I didn't really want to dance with him the rest of the night. And when I went to the toilet, I didn't look for him again. I was dancing on a little bit of the different part of the dance floor, and I thought, you're just not going to be for me. Were they young in their 20s? Yeah, they were, or younger. Yes. I as far as I know, they were all in their 20s because literally it was a university Indian Society group. It's run by the University of Exeter Indian Society. So um two people, it was two girls, Indian girl and a Chinese girl. I think she's Chinese. They said to me they're in the first year of study at uni, so I presumed that they were like 19, 20. I don't know how old it is when they come to the UK to study. I think it's 19 from what I spoke to a taxi driver about that years ago. I said, would they be like 18 or 19? Because I had a guy, really young guy in Timepiece, who'd just been in this country 9 months, who was dancing with me, Indian guy. And so I thought he must be like 18 or 19. But when I spoke to a taxi driver, he says they're 19 usually when they come over to the UK. So I'm guessing that the guys there were anything from 19 up to 23, probably. There were some guys that looked older and some guys that looked really younger. But yes, as far as I know, all of them were in their early 20s. I don't think any were past mid-20s. I think they were all up to 23, to be honest. I think that was probably the oldest, if that. They might have all have been much younger than that, I don't know. But there was some older looking I mean, there was some young, older guy looking in the eyes, 'cause like, there was one, and he just had such a full beard that you couldn't really tell his age. It was just like a full head of hair, but a full whacking great beard that just made him look much older, so that was really weird. So there were some guys like that had so much facial hair, you just couldn't tell what age they were. And then there was like really young looking guys, which I didn't spend much time dancing around because obviously they're too young. There was one guy that I was really attracted to, but I think he was going to be no good for me. He did remind me of the 21-year-old I kissed this year, and he had short dark hair and was clean shaven, and he was the look I like. And I think he knew I was attracted to him, but I was too old for him, I would say. I think he was too young. And I don't think he would have made for a good guy for me at all. So, yeah. But I did want to kiss him. It was just blatantly obvious I wanted to kiss him. To me, I'm like, I really want to kiss you. Because he was the look I like, short dark hair, clean shaven, spiky short hair, and just his whole look. It was like, I really like the look of you. I could kiss you because but I don't think he'd be very good for me or healthy guy for me. I don't think. But it would have had to have just been a kiss anyway. But it didn't matter because there was something amazing that happened, which I did really like. Okay. So it was for about the last half hour of me being there, just minus about 5-10 minutes. So I think this guy was with me for half hour. So I came back from the toilet and I started dancing. And I was doing some dancing like on my own, but in the crowd, like facing different people and stuff. And then all over, but I hadn't been there long. I think I just got back from the toilet actually. So I think I just went in the crowd and tried to dance. Yeah, that was it. That was it. Yeah, I'd come from the toilet and I was back on the dance floor. Then all of a sudden, this Indian guy just walks up to me like out of nowhere. And I don't know if he'd seen me passing him. I don't know if he'd been looking at me all night, but he was like super strong. I love this type of Indian guy. And I had this amazing experience, which I'm going to tell you about, even though I'm asexual. It was incredible. And it's very interesting. Theola, oh wow. Yeah. So this guy, he came over to me, really super strong. And tell us more, says Theola. And as he came over really super strong, and he came over specifically to dance with me. No other women. I love a guy like this. He wasn't interested in looking at any other women the whole time. He didn't go and dance with any other women. He was specifically only interested in me. He made that clear. And I love an Indian guy that does that. I love an Indian guy that just comes over and it's like, here I am. I think he must have planned it in his mind. I think he must have planned the stages, like thought I want this, 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 and this with the girl. Now I'm gonna get it. Viola says, "Oh, he must be looking at you, have eyes on you." Yeah, I think he definitely had eyes on me because he like appeared out of nowhere, and then it's like, "I'm gonna get what I want now. F this." That's the attitude I thought he had. It's like, "F this. I don't care what people think. I just want to get that girl." That was the attitude that came across to me, and I love this type of guy. So strong. So I say I'm not attracted to masculine guys, but I'm attracted to these masculine traits. Um, one in which a guy is super strong, doesn't care what anyone thinks, marches over, and it's like, I'm with her. That's it. Even said to me later on, I'm not gonna let you go. Which I'm like thinking, is this a possessive thing? Or is this a just nice, like, I'm not interested in other people type of thing? But I just thought it was really nice, like overall. And this whole experience was wonderful. So I will explain what happened. So he did have facial hair, which I'm not usually aesthetically attracted to. It really puts me off. But I couldn't see his face fully because we were dancing and it was like dark with flashing lights in there. But from what I could see, I just liked his smile and I liked his hair on his head. It was beautiful. And I'm not really usually attracted to guys with beards, right? But what happened was he came over, like I said, specifically to dance with me, and we were doing like really coordinated dance, not really touching at this point. We're doing very coordinated dancing together. And I thought this guy is just such a actually throughout the whole time I was with him, the more and more I danced with him, the more I thought this guy would make an excellent dance partner for me. He was really well coordinated with me. It was like we're in tune together, in sync, and we were so coordinated together. And it was like we were made for each other in a dancing way. It's really difficult to explain, but that's the best I feel I've ever danced with a guy. Like he would like dance with me close and then give me some space to do my own type of dancing, but close to him. And then he would come together, and it was just amazing experience. And so the closer he got, he did offer basically to hold my hand, and it was so beautiful. He did it in such an amazing way. Theola asked, was you chatting to him or just dancing? I was just dancing at this stage. He said he didn't say many words to me. He did say a few words to me later on, which I'm gonna say, but no, it was just really like smiling at each other and dancing. And he was doing moves and I was doing moves, and we're like following each other. So he would like kind of follow me sometimes with my moves. I would kind of follow him with his moves and with hand gestures, like movements and legs. Because with Bollywood dancing, there's a lot of hand movements, not just legs. It's very hard actually on the ankles. Like my ankles hurt doing that dancing. It's very full on kind of like down in your legs, right? You put a lot of weight on your legs, I felt, more than the dancing I usually do. And so it's a lot of like arms up like this, and down like this, and down like this, and like, and so I just felt, when you see beautiful people like do Swan Lake, I don't know if you've seen the famous Swan Lake, like ballet, when they're all in sync. I felt like that's how I was with him the majority of the time. Of course, there was kind of a little tiny bit sometimes we were out of line, but the majority of the time we were really in sync. And I just thought he's such a good dance partner for me because he gave me the space I needed to just do my own thing, but be really close to him still. I'm going to tell you about the way he held me, which was amazing soon. And at first he was we were totally like separate dancing, but still close enough to each other. And so just the whole variety of dancing with him and closeness and space was just amazing. So I felt that he totally understood me like that, and we were very well coordinated. I don't know if he realized how well matched he was with me for dancing. I did actually say to him later on that I like dancing with you, and he it's nice dancing with you or something like that, and he said, oh, thank you, that's a really nice compliment. So he did like that. um and I did feel we're a very good match at dancing. I thought it's a shame I can't continue to see him, even to go out dancing with him, because it's such a beautiful dance partner, I thought. And so anyway, partway, like when we danced somewhat together, he must have had all this planned, I don't know, but it felt like that, like in a good way. And then so we were dancing together, and then he held his hand out, and he held my hand, but the way he held it was like this. It was very romantic and very sensual and very beautiful. And it was actually his left hand. So I was facing him, so I was that way, and his hand was here, and so it would have been his left hand, but the way he held it was like this, and it was really beautiful. It wasn't like stabby, it wasn't horrible, it was just beautifully held, and he had gorgeous hands. I don't think I've ever had an Indian guy near me or around me or dated or whatever, or been with or danced with, who got such beautiful hands. Like his hand, especially his left hand, which he when he first put my hand in his, the way he held it was just like holding it, not grabbing it. It was just holding it there, and it was so soft and so warm. And I don't think I'll ever forget his hand. It was so soft and so warm and gentle and beautiful. And I didn't mind him touching me because he got beautiful hands, which is kind of really weird. But he didn't touch me in any places I wasn't comfortable with, which is the another amazing thing about him. Like, throughout the whole time he was dancing closer, because he got closer to me, I never had a problem with him being close to me, and the whole time he just totally knew my boundaries without even asking. It was really strange in a good way. Like, I'm thinking you're very compatible with me physically. So this guy I felt completely compatible physical wise with. Like, I had no problem being physically close to him whatsoever. It was like he was made for me in that sense. It was very natural. And I found this whole experience really beautiful. Like, he kept holding my hand like this, and it was just really nice, and I just loved it so much. But I just his left hand particularly, because he then took my right hand and like held it with his, took my other hand and held it with his right hand. We were opposite sides, so were we opposite hands? But anyway, so he did hold both of my hands at one point, but I loved it. I felt so comfortable, and it was really weird because if I compare that experience to the other two Indian guys I was uncomfortable around, they were the wrong guys for me. They didn't respect my boundaries. I was kind of a bit scared and uncomfortable around them, sexual wise. But this guy, I was totally opposite with. This guy, I felt so comfortable with physically. I could be physically close to him, and I had absolutely no problem. It was like completely natural for me. So it's very interesting observations. And it's just the way he held me, the way he respected all my boundaries without actually saying I'm respecting your boundaries. And it's like he knew what to do and how to be with me. It was really amazing experience. This made my whole night, if I'm honest. I think I must have been with him for like half an hour. The whole experience with him just was like a night to remember. Like, up to that point, I hadn't really had any romantic good times, if you know what I mean, and memorable moments, that were amazing, incredible, and felt really good. But when he came, that was it. it's like he was totally compatible with me physicality wise. Like I felt so comfortable. So he held my hands both, and then he drew me closer to his body, but I didn't have a problem with that. I felt the way he did everything in the right order. I don't know if he knew what he was doing. I don't know if he was a professional at this or if he just knew what to do with me. It was so weird. It was like everything he did in all the right steps. It was like he didn't just go in, like a bird of prey that goes in for the kill. He wasn't like that at all. And the way he held my hands and even close to him was sensual. And I was so sensually attracted to this guy. Like, I've never been so sensually attracted to an Indian guy before in my life. Like, I usually get a strong aesthetic and romantic attraction. With him, I was very sensually, not sexually, sensually, Sensual, sensual, with an ly, essentially. I was so sensually attracted to him. It was unbelievable. And he had facial hair, he had a beard. But even though he had a beard, I was still attracted to him because I was so sensually attracted to him. As in, I didn't mind him touching me in all the places he did, which was none of the places that I didn't like. So it was perfect from that point of view. You know? It was exactly right for me. I like this is just amazing experience. The whole experience with him was incredible and probably one I'll never forget for the rest of my life. I get a bit sad though, because it makes me think I'm meant to be with an Indian guy even more. Like that's the type of Indian guy in terms of feeling and sensuality that I need to be with in a relationship in the future. But that's the problem. I just want a guy to stay like that, having fun, dancing, not want all the sex, marriage, kids, live together stuff going on, And it's sad that as they get older, they want all this stuff that their parents want to like sex, marriage, kids to live together. And it's like, why can't they just be like that? Romantic, beautiful in the way they hold me and in the way they are with me. Why can't I just have a guy who's Indian like he is, but slightly different, but in an actual relationship in the future because I would feel really comfortable physically around him. Like he got such beautiful hands that maybe I wouldn't mind more touching if I was in a serious committed relationship with him. I don't know. Maybe it's possible with him because I felt he was being very sensual and the way his hands were so soft and warm. Fiona, they might love you, but they have to obey their parents. I know, exactly. Well, obviously, this guy didn't love me because I just met him in a club. It's different. But, that's the problem. I need a guy who's like not going to obey his parents or whose parents don't care, which is probably why he needs to be British born. And so, it's just like I like a teenager star relationship with a guy in his 20s because in a teenager star relationship, it's like that. It's like dancing, fun, kiss well, I'll come on to I didn't kiss him, but he wanted to kiss me. So maybe I'll skip to that part now, right? So anyway, so the night went on with him and he did do the dancing thing that the other guy did, the one that tried to touch my breast before. But when he did it, he moved his hands back to the side of my breast. Now, I am okay with the sides. That's a boundary. I didn't tell him this is my boundary. He just sort of knew it. So he was just like that. And I was okay with that because he wasn't touching any full on and he could barely probably feel anything, but feel just enough to satisfy his sexual needs or whatever he has. And so I'm just like, how did you know that I'm okay with your hands there, but no further? It was really weird. And I'm like, you like totally know my boundaries without me even telling you. Obviously I was a little bit nervous when he did do the twirly thing, thinking, is he going to try and touch my breast? But he didn't. So I was really happy about that. And so it made me feel even more comfortable around him. Like I could trust him like that. And so, the whole experience was really good. But he did kiss me on the forehead twice, which was really nice. And I know he wanted to kiss me on the lips. And I could tell because I was like looking up at him and he was looking, and I know that he wanted to kiss me and his lips looked really beautiful. And I probably would have tried to kiss him back. Well, I wouldn't have had to try because he would have been kissing me, but what I'm saying by try is because I don't like bearded guys usually. I felt in my head, can I try to kiss you? A bearded guy because you've got such beautiful lips. And he was really in close proximity. Like his head was there and my lips were there and his lips were there. I'm like, oh my God. And I did want to kiss him in the terms of like how he made me feel really good about myself and my body and everything. But obviously he is bearded, so I was kind of like weighing up, could I, but he smelt the smoke and I knew he smoked cigarettes, and he did actually say to me later on that he wanted to kiss me, and I said, I can't because you smoke, and I just can't do that, and I want to be really honest with you. And he was disappointed, but he said to me, okay, I respect the fact of your health more than my horniness. So he did say he was horny, so I know that he was sexually attracted to me. But it was interesting. He was into kissing. He wasn't asking for any sexual stuff. He was wanting to kiss me. And I think had he not smoked, I would have given it a go of kissing him, even though he had a beard. I would be very conscious, like, how do I kiss his lips without getting any beard in my mouth? Because that's just disgusting to me, beard in the mouth. But I did tell him that I do prefer a clean shaven guy. In the end, I told him that. Because that is my preference, and I did think, well, if I ever see him again, I I'm not really into beards, and I don't know if I could be with a guy all the time that had a beard. But it was very interesting that I was highly attracted to him in a sensual way. Uh, Less so, I'd say, usually aesthetically. So I was less romantically attracted to him, less aesthetically attracted to him with the beard sense. But because I was so sensually attracted to him, it made him more aesthetically attractive, even with the beard. So that was a really interesting experience for me because I've never had that before. Not with an Indian guy, and not full on like not totally sensual like that. So there was times when he was literally had his arms right round my back, like hugging me tight, holding each other tight on the dance floor. And I was so comfortable with that, like full frontal, like holding each other tight, like you'd see a couple do in bed probably. But I like kissing in public. I like being physical in public in those ways. And so yeah, so he was holding me really tight. And at one point I had my arms like up his back and my head, I think, on his shoulder. And I was so tight to him. And I was just thinking, thank you, God, for this wonderful experience. It's so bliss right now. I'm in such heaven with this guy. And it was just a beautiful experience. Like, he did that a few times, I think about 3 times or maybe more, and I think I remember 3 times in total, but it was just so beautiful the way he held me, and I was totally, completely comfortable with full frontal holding each other tight. It was really beautiful. Like, I couldn't have wished for anything better in the physical sense, apart from obviously him not smoking, not having a beard, and kissing. But by the time I told him that I couldn't kiss a smoker, he said, "Oh, it's no problem. We can still dance anyway." So, because I respect you, so we did spend about 10 more minutes of dancing. But then when I told him about a beard, he said, "Oh, no worries. You can change that with a razor." And he said, "Oh, if you were here again, I would like." I said, "Would you like kiss me if I didn't have any cigarettes?" Because he said, "Oh, what? After one cigarette, you get ill?" I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "I kissed someone who vaped before and got an ulcer, even, so I can't even have vape." And so he was very, like, understanding about that. Oh, earlier on as well, he did say my eyes speak a lot. I've had other Indian guy say that to me a while ago as well. It's really weird. He goes, "Oh, your eyes speak a lot. They say everything about you," or something. And I'm like, kind of like, it's in a nightclub. It's really noisy, so I can't really go into details about what exactly do you mean by that. And so I said, "Oh, okay." And then he said, "Oh, do your lips do the talking as well?" Because he did say he wanted to. That's when he said he wanted to kiss me. And I felt like afterwards, I thought when I got home, yes, my lips do the talking. You would have really loved kissing me, but I just couldn't do it. Anyway, so what happened in the end, because I said I like clean shaving, I said, "No problem, I can take it off with a razor." And then he was saying, "Oh, but if I did that and I met like I came to like an event like this again, I'd only, do it if I knew you were gonna be here and would kiss me like that," or something like that, he said. And then he looked over the others, like diagonally opposite in the front, near the front stage bit, like where the DJ was. And I presume he came with some friends. And then after he looked there, he sort of like said to me, "Oh, it's getting really hot in here. I'm gonna take some fresh air. Do you mind?" Which I knew meant that he was going to leave. And I was a bit disappointed that he didn't just tell me, "Look, I've got to go now," which would have been a nicer thing to have said to me. But instead, I knew what it meant. So I just said to him, "Well, it's going to end soon, isn't it?" He's like, "Yeah, I know." I said, so I said goodbye to him. So I said, "Oh, bye then, thanks." And like, I think I said bye. I said, "Bye then." We did like hug again, close, and then I said, "Take care of you," or something, and that was it. He didn't ask for my number or anything, so clearly he doesn't wanna see me again. I think he had second thoughts when I said that obviously the smoking was an issue. Then I said about the beard being an issue, and I think he thought, "Alright, it's really not gonna work then, but I've enjoyed my time, and so I'm leaving now because I think my friends have gone anyway." So I think he realised then that he'd gone as far as he could go with me, and that was it. And so he left. I would have liked him to have been strong enough to say, "Look, thanks for a wonderful night. I'm gonna go now." I would have been better because he was just gonna leave me, not even gonna say goodbye. He was just gonna pretend he went out for some fresh air and disappear, and that's not a nice guy that does that. So that was the only disappointing thing. Had he been a real strong guy for me in that way, he would have said, "Look, I respect your wishes of wanting someone who's non-smoker and beardless, and I've had a great time with you, but I'll say goodnight now because I'm going." That would have been much better, more romantic and much nicer, but he didn't. He went, he did say goodbye to me then because I knew he was going to go. I said, "Well, it's going to end soon, so goodbye," basically. And then he did like hug me and say goodbye. So that was nice. It ended, but it was ended because of me. And so I thought had he been like fully a masculine guy in the sense that strong guy, he would have actually had the decency to say, "Look, I'm going now," rather than make an excuse up. That was the only thing that let him down, was the excuse at the end. Because I thought if you're a really strong guy, you wouldn't give me excuses. You would say to me that, because yeah, it's common for people to make excuses to get out of a situation. Like, even when the guy was making me uncomfortable, I went to the toilet. I just thought I need it anyway, but also I couldn't be, being with that guy earlier that made me uncomfortable. So I needed to go. And when you go off to the toilet, then you can come back wherever you want and you don't have to be around that guy anymore. So I do use the toilet. I have to go to the toilet loads anyway, but I use it partly in an excuse to get away from a guy that I'm not really comfortable around. And so, but I know this guy was comfortable around me, but it was an excuse to leave because he realized that it was no good because he can't kiss me. So he's gone as far as he could go. But I did like his lips, and I probably would have tried, well, had a go at kissing him back, if you like. But yeah, the whole experience other than that was really, really nice. Like, I thought, you're so compatible with me physically. And that's kind of like hard to get when you're asexual, I think. Like, I just saw, like, he said he was horny, but he didn't come across as badly horny to me. Like, obviously, he's sexually attracted to me by that comment, and he's being honest, but he wasn't coming across like the other two guys. They were coming across more horny. He wasn't coming across as like, "I'm horny and I need to get some." He was coming across as like more of a gentleman. Like, the way he held me and all my boundaries were respected, and the way he held me close, like, I didn't pick up any bad horny vibes from him. So as an asexual person, for me, I was just like thinking, this is really romantic. This is very sensual experience. This is very beautiful. He had a nice smile. He seemed really nice to get on with. But all the holding me close and holding my hand was amazing. He was really strong the rest of the time, apart from the last bit. He's really, really strong guy for me, and I really loved it. It was just beautiful, and I did go home thinking, "Oh, I was really amazing experience," but I did get a bit tearful because I was thinking that is why I know I'm meant to be with an Indian guy, because I feel that the only guy I'll be totally physically compatible with as an asexual, asexual versus a heterosexual, if you like, is with an Indian guy who I'm really physically comfortable with. That's probably the most I could be physically comfortable. But I have been with a British guy, like in 2008, no, 2019 was it? Well, I was with a British guy in a relationship for a short period of time, and I was so fine being physical around him, but it wasn't the same feeling. Like, when an Indian guy holds my hand, it's like magic. You know what I mean? It's like it's still, when I was with the British guy, if I'm assessing them side by side, like, I still thought it was quite magical and electric in that way, but it's just not the same with the British guy. I just much prefer being with an Indian guy. I just feel it's the right thing. I felt like so comfortable with this guy. So I'm just like, I physically would feel like it was flawless in terms of like compatibility, which might seem really strange because I'm asexual, but I just had a wonderful sensual experience with him. Fiola. Oh, I'm sorry that happened, just left. Yeah, that was the only disappointing thing about him. He did make an excuse to leave, but he didn't justly because I said goodbye to him, but it was only because I said goodbye to him. But one of the things that was bad as well is that the club didn't shut till 3 and it said on my ticket 2. So I booked the taxi for 10 past 2. I was still busy dancing on the floor, but I thought it's got to have been past like 10 past 2 by now because, like, or at least after 2, because when I went to the toilet some time ago before the other guy danced with me, that Essential guy, it was like I got someone to tell me the time. It was like 1:14 a.m. And so I was busy dancing and my bag was in the corner singing the music's going to stop soon, surely, because you finish at 2. My ticket said 2, but it didn't. And I booked the taxi for 10 past 2 and it was 2:16. And I'm like, oh my God, my taxi's probably left. And I saw the text saying your taxi's arrived. And luckily I went outside, said to the security guys, the taxi here, and there was, and he waited for me. But he said it's only because he was like on the phone doing something that he forgot the time. So that worked out really well. But it's a shame because I couldn't stay till the very end. I just had to go in the taxi because I couldn't book another one. But obviously you can't let a taxi company down and then say, hey, can I have another one in like a 3/4 of an hour? It doesn't work like that. So, and when we were going back, I to my, home, the taxi driver was taking me back home. It was really interesting because he goes, oh, so I said I'd been to a Bollywood night, and he's like, Bollywood. It's like, was there many Indians there? And I'm like, yeah, it was all Indians, like, apart from like not many. He goes, how many British people there? I said, there's me and this one guy, as far as I know, and there was a Chinese girl. And he's like, "Oh, that many, like, British people?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I thought there'd be lots of Indians there with it being Bollywood night." He's like, "Oh, where's that?" And I was trying to tell him, like, well, he knew it was at Sync, but he was like, "Oh, when's that? Like, how long does that go on for?" Or something like that, I was saying, because I was trying to explain to him why I was late, and I did apologize. Um, and anyway, he said, "Oh, but it's terrible. Like, it's a good job you didn't stay that long because they fight. There's lots of fights there at the end." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "They fight." I said, "There wasn't any fights there." He goes, "Oh, I bring them home in the taxis and the guys are always fighting and arguing about who danced with their woman. Like, why did you dance with my woman? Why did you do that?" And he said, "And they're always like this in the taxi." He said, "So I hate picking them up." And I'm like, I thought, he goes, "And I'm Indian." I said, "You're Indian." Didn't look Indian. He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, that's really interesting." And I said, "Oh, you got wife and kids?" And he goes, "Yeah, my oldest is 10 years old." It's like, I just know they're gonna have wife and kids if they're Indian older guy. It's like just so predictable, you know? It's a shame it's predictable, but it is. But yeah, so I left feeling, why can't like the Indian guy just stay at that life stage permanently? That's kind of the life stage I permanently want, where their horniness just leads to kissing, nothing else, and all my boundaries respected. Do you know what I mean? That would be great if the guy was just horny in the sense of kissing and physical contact with clothes on, with no touching me in places I do not want to be touched. That would be the ideal actual relationship for me, where there's no sex, no marriage, no kids, no living together. It's like I want that stage when they're in their early 20s, but permanently. That's obviously a big reason probably why I get attracted to that age group as well. But for me, it's like a mindset thing and lifestyle, because obviously in my mind, I'm just like 21. I reprogrammed my mind years ago using neuro linguistic programming to be like 21 years old. So for me, I just fit right in there. I don't think of the age difference in birth certificate age usually. I don't really think about it. I only think like they might notice I'm older, but they don't really know how old I am. And when I wear, like, I don't usually wear makeup, and then you probably noticed my video yesterday. It's like, if I'm gonna have to put glittery eyeshadow on, but I put loads on, like really visible, so it's so bright. It's really funny. I go from no makeup whatsoever to like, let's put loads of glitter stuff on. But with Bollywood stuff, they got a lot of glitter in their costumes and stuff, so I thought it would be quite appropriate. I think I was probably the only one with like really like bright makeup on. It's quite funny. But then it's like, dark in there with like lights going, so you can't really see that much anyway. So it probably didn't look that bright until I got into the toilet and into the light. But yeah, so I had a fabulous end of the time to my, like, oh gosh, sorry. I got this laptop on a pillow on a it's it's about to slide off. And so yeah, I did have the wonderful magical romantic experience at the end, and I just thought it was a very good for me to understand that I can get really sensually attracted to a guy, and that kind of overruled the aesthetics of him having a beard. I'm like, would it be possible for me at all to be with an Indian guy with a beard? But I just really don't like beards. Theola says in chat, I wish you found your soulmate soon. Oh, I'm okay, Theola. Yeah, I'm just trying to focus on my career now, but thank you. You know, it does upset me afterwards. I think, God, that was such a beautiful time. I wish I could have that time with an Indian guy all the time in an actual relationship without the I'm leaving now because you know what I mean? And without the like, obviously, he might have just been with me probably just because he's horny and giving me that experience. But I would like a guy to give me that experience without it being based on horniness. And it would also be nice if a guy just said, do you want to hang out? Because I just like spending time with you and being in your company. That's very asexual thinking, you know. My asexual thinking is like, why can't I just have an Indian guy who gets my number and it's like, yeah, shall we go on a date to the cinema? You know, because he just wants to spend some time with me and have food at Nando's or something, get to know me as a person and actually enjoy my company and to be with me for my mind and my personality more than my body. I want him to like my body. For me, it's very important that he likes my looks, he likes kissing me, he likes being physical with me to a certain extent. But I would like it if I had him pursuing me for a less than physical experience, if you know what I mean. Yes, as Theoda said, um, she wishes that, not just sexual. Exactly. You know, for him, it's probably a very sexual experience. For me, it's sensual. That's the difference. You see, you got to be very careful to understand the difference between sensual and sexual. Now, for a sexual guy, a heterosexual guy, all that physical experience might not have been sensual for him. It might have all been sexual attraction, or he might have just viewed it as sexual attraction. Because heterosexuals don't separate all the different types of attractions usually. It's just like, I'm attracted, I'm horny, and that's it. Fiona says in chat, I don't want anyone because they don't find me sexually attractive. I don't want to be hurt with their words. They don't find you sexually attractive. That surprises me. I would probably say they do. You have a lot of guys after you. I think they do find you sexually attractive. I just think they hide it and pretend they don't. So I don't agree with that. But I think that you do. Oh, you don't, says Theola. You don't get guys sexually attracted to you. Okay. I don't know if that's a good thing. I just thought the whole experience at the end was beautiful, but it's kind of like I want that experience all the time with a guy and kissing in an actual relationship. So it's kind of like really weird. So for him, it was like a sexual experience, no doubt. And for me, it was a very sensual experience. Two completely different experiences, but the same experience at the same time. It's kind of weird. You share these moments, but you're both kind of thinking and feeling different things, but the same type of feeling and thinking at the same time. So for him, it's sexual. For me, it's sensual, but it feels like it's the same thing in terms of like the feelings you get when you touch each other and are physically close to each other. But I'm thinking I like you sensually to the guy, and he's thinking I like you sexually. So it's like you've got the same feeling, I think, in terms of liking the touch and liking the closeness. And so therefore it's the same feeling in that, but one's coming from a sensual point of view, one's coming from a sexual point of view. So it's kind of weird. It's like you're the same, on the same page, feeling exactly the same, but in a different way. It's kind of really weird. So that's how a heterosexual and hetero-asexual relationship could actually work. But obviously a heterosexual would probably need and want sex and to go a stage further if they're in an actual relationship. And obviously they were just interested in me sexual wise. Like not getting to know me as an actual person, I don't think. But then some guys, if you are a person who would be sexually attracted to them back, would want to get to know you personality wise afterwards. So for some guys, the sexual attraction comes first, usually with heterosexuals, then the personality and the other type of attraction comes afterwards, usually. So like backwards, it's very backwards. Fiona says in chat, I want to tell you it has to be soul attraction first on inside, then he can love all of you outside, all of you. That's how it works. If you want the love, not outside in. If it's physical sexual attraction, it don't work. Yes, I do agree with that, Fiola. If it's just physical sexual attraction, it doesn't work. They've got to like you. Soul, I agree with that. Like, who you should be in a relationship with should be your soulmate. And I always speak about this, but sometimes it's a foreign concept to people. I also say they should be your bestest ever friend. If they're your bestest ever friend, then they're then they're not going to stray usually, because they value that friendship more than anything. And even if they find other women attractive, it'd be like, well, I need to be with that girl because she's my soulmate and she's my best friend. I won't betray that. A guy's much more likely to betray you and go off with someone else if they don't actually value as a soulmate and best friend. If you are with your best friend in a relationship, you won't want to be with anyone else because you won't want to cheat on them because you'll value them too much. So, it's very important that I agree that, it has to be a soulmate. But obviously with him, it wasn't going to be a relationship. I know that. We just met at a club and, I did think like what's going to happen if I do see him again. Fiola, I know now have soul love attraction first, then he can love all of your face and body. Yes, you've got to have a soul attraction first. Yes, Fiola, that is how it works. I totally agree. But obviously when you are meeting a guy who's heterosexual, all the thing they've got to go on when you're dancing with them is looks. They don't have much else to go on. You're not really. You are showcasing your personality in the sense you're showcasing your personality through your dancing. I mean, this guy did say, obviously, that your eyes speak a lot. But I've had another Indian guy tell me that, and not in a club. He told me in private message. He told me exactly what that meant as well about me, and he was spot on about me, which was very weird. I'm like, oh shoot. And so maybe this guy could tell what I was like through seeing my eyes, because he was very respectful of my boundaries without me even telling him. So maybe that's why. But like obviously, like a lot of guys in their early 20s who are Indian, they're not gonna want a relationship without sex usually, and they're gonna want marriage and likely kids later on and all that lot anyway. So unless I found an Indian guy that was just so different to his own culture, then it just wouldn't work, in the sense that, I need a guy who's not going to need marriage and kids and who could be in an asexual relationship, which the majority obviously can't anyway. But I had a wonderful experience, and it was really interesting for me to observe how I felt around one Indian guy compared to the other two. So obviously I had 3 guys, both being physical with me there, all Indian obviously, both 3 guys, all of them I should say, being physical with me. The last guy was the one who I let most be physical with me, and I had no problem with his physicality with me whatsoever. Nothing. I didn't have any problem with it at all, which I was quite surprised and shocked by, in the sense that I didn't know I could be sensually attracted that much to someone. It's a very strange experience. Thank you for the thumbs up. Lots of love to you. And so, I really like that. But it's interesting, because I can tell with the other 2 guys I was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable about them touching me because I just felt they were too sexual for me. But the other guy, the last guy, even though he said he was horny and my health was more important than his horniness, and he did spend some time dancing with me after that for a while, then I thought that was really nice and kind and caring of him and thoughtful, which was good. And he said he still liked dancing with me. We did hold each other close after that. He did kiss me a second time on the forehead during that time, actually. But it was hard because I would have probably kissed him had he not smoked. I probably would have really enjoyed it, even though I got a beard. I would just have to be mindful of, like, how do I not get this in my mouth? But he has such beautiful lips, I could see them, and then we were so close. I could tell, but I was just purposely turning my face away, head down, so he couldn't kiss me because I knew he smoked. Because I knew that if I carried on, because guys are very good at body language usually with me, especially. And if you're going to kiss someone, basically they look at you, you look at them, and you keep eye contact, and then you don't have any barriers in the way, and then it's a direct line for the kiss. But if you don't want to kiss them, or well, I probably acted like I was shy. That's probably how I acted. Because with him, I did want to kiss him, but I didn't know how to tell him that I can't kiss a smoker because I could smell it on him, cigarette smoke. I just can't do that. And it was really weird because we were so close, but then I had to turn my head away, which probably made me look like I was a shy girl in his arms or something, which is quite endearing, right? Um, but it was just like it was kind of like I knew that if I carried on that we would end up kissing because we were so close, and I knew that if I turned my head and specifically looked right at him, that would be the kiss because I could tell he wanted to kiss me and I didn't want to kiss him, but I'm like, I just can't do it because you smoke. So I turned my head like down like that a bit so he couldn't get there because my head was a barrier. But yeah, I had a really nice time with him. He made my night actually. He made it very romantic, very special still, even though he's not suitable for anything with further with me. But I just get the impression that one day I might have an Indian guy that keeps showing up in my life, like randomly, and keep seeing each other on the streets or something. Probably not now, probably in years to come or something. I don't know. Um, but I get a feeling there'll be a guy who is Indian who does show up in my life a lot and keeps showing up, whether maybe he's not as attracted to me at first as he could be, and then he grows on attraction. Um, but at the moment I need to focus on my career anyway. I much prefer meeting Indian guys in person really than online. It's a much better experience, especially when you're going like that to dance, because I didn't go specifically to like be physical with an Indian guy. Like, I thought that I might allow myself to kiss an Indian guy if he wanted to kiss me. I felt comfortable enough doing it. But obviously, primarily, I wanted the whole Bollywood dance experience. I wanted to know what it felt like to go Bollywood dancing, to do that type of dancing, which is a bit different. Some of it's similar to what I've done before. I incorporated some of the same steps. But I ended up doing freestyling because when the first couple let me dance there, she told me in the end, she goes, "Oh, just do your own steps, just do what you don't have to do copy basically them." And I was like, okay, because I was kind of like trying to copy them a little bit because I thought I need to get more into understanding Bollywood specific dance moves. I have been looking at some online before I went, but it's actually better me freestyling. And I did have some other girls come up and go, "Oh, we love your moves." Like at the beginning, I had that. And then, like three quarters of the way through the night, I had these girls, and she shook my hand. She liked my dance moves, and I went to hug her because I thought, "Oh, that's just so sweet." So I gave her a big hug instead. So this was a female, and so they like my dancing, and I had to have some other people saying they like my moves, so I felt quite good about that, especially because it's Bollywood dancing. I was a bit like, I guess I was a little bit more self-conscious, a little bit, because I was like, do I do the steps that you're supposed to traditionally do, or do my own thing? And I was doing my own thing in the beginning, and that was really good. And then I was trying to like blend in more with them, fit in more, if you like. But then I decided to do my own dance moves because the girl's like, "Oh, you can do your own moves." And because I thought, because I'm with them in a group, it might be better if I kind of like more copied them, but it just didn't really work, I don't think. And I was better off doing my own moves, much better in the end. So I just carried on after that doing my own moves. I thought, yeah, it's much better to just do your own moves with incorporating some stuff I learned from videos. So anyway, I want to give you that very interesting experience that I had. I want to say thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Thanks, Fiona, for being in chat. It's been really good to see you here as always. And yeah, so I'd love to know your thoughts and comments on this video if you're watching it on a replay after it's gone off live, which is in a moment. And I'd love to know your observations, your comments, your thoughts, especially asexual versus sexual thinking and sensual attraction versus sexual attraction. Be very interesting to know your thoughts on that. So yes, comment down below underneath this video. I'll see you soon on the next video live stream. Lots of love. Thank you, Fiona, and thanks to everyone else that's been watching. I know there's been other people watching. Love you lots. Bye. Take care. Bye.